Coco Chanel, a French designer, once said, a girl should be two things, who she wants to be and what she wants to be. Good morning and welcome to today's episode of Women Empowerment Program, being organized and sponsored by the Rule of Law and Empowerment Initiative, also known as Partners West Africa Nigeria, P1. My name is Nkem Okereke, your host for the show, with my co-host Chioma. Empowerment of women is something we have been on for a while now. We've talked about empowerment through skill acquisitions, women empowering their fellow women, and women understanding their health and having rights to their own bodies. The question is, how many women have a sense of autonomy and self-confidence and can act individually and collectively to change social relationships, institutions, and discourses that exclude poor people? How can women begin to see themselves in that light? This brings us to discuss the topic, social empowerment of women. We will go on a short break and then come back with our guest for this topic. Please stay tuned.
Welcome back to the show. Our guest for today is the founder of TechHerNG, a technology organization hinged on learning, support, and collaboration for women curious or passionate about technology, focused on ensuring that women who venture into technology not only stay there, but are exposed to interventions that make them better versions of themselves. She, through TechHerNG, also teaches, preaches collaboration, and provides support where she can in a number of ways in technology-related areas, and also promotes female-led businesses for free. She has also involved more women both actively and productively by providing a safe space and demystifying technology. Please welcome with us this morning Ms. Chioma Agwuegbo. Good morning, ma. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Okay, ma. So today's topic is about social empowerment of women. We would like to know what's your view. What is social empowerment of women in your own view?
Social empowerment of women has to do with strengthening women's ability to make decisions for themselves. So providing them with the information that they need, providing accountability structures around them, but more importantly, letting women come into a place of agency so that they feel like they can take decisions for themselves. So Nkem had talked about, women's health and them being able to make decisions. So it's allowing women feel like they can speak up. They can take actions, for instance, that have to do with maybe their bodies, their sexual rights, their reproductive rights, their businesses, their careers, their education, as long as women feel a sense of power. Because that's what empowerment really is about, the power in the middle. As long as they feel that power to be able to do these things for themselves, then you can say a woman is empowered.
Yeah, socially.
Socially,
yes. Thank you very much. Yeah. So why do you think it's important? I know you have said everything about social empowerment. Why do you think it's important for women?
I think, why are we even having this discussion in the first place, right? Do we ever talk about empowerment for men, right? Because it's almost always seen as a given that men should have power. The word man is almost synonymous with the word power. But then there's the expectation on women that they should be weak, they should be submissive, they should be soft. There's a new fad going around about women being soft, about women leaning into their feminine and, just sitting back and allowing things happen to them. And that's not really empowered, especially when you think about people below a certain spectrum, right? When women do not have access, for instance, to information that allows them make, really thoughtful decisions about their bodies, about their families, when women do not have access to it, when there's no option, for instance, when you say a girl will not go to school because there's only money to send one child and you have a male child and a female child, and you say, oh, it's a given that the boy will go to school. school, when they don't have those structures, which is why I talked about accountability structures that enable them get to a point where they have agency to make decisions for themselves. So it's really important that, you know, that this topic is super important because we must first deconstruct the fact that there is a problem. The fact that we're having this discussion shows that there's a problem. If you look at Nigeria today, who's making decisions on behalf and for women? Look at the National Assembly. You have 12 women in the Senate. You have in the House of Representatives, you know, and then you have 9 or 7 women in the Senate. Who is then making decisions for women? Who is making decisions for children? Who is making decisions for men? Because the truth is, you can't, and I know it's a well-worn cliche, you can't wash hands, you know, properly with only one hand. So we have only about 50% of the wisdom and the information and the knowledge and the nuance that we need in our political spaces today. So why do we need women empowered? Because it just makes sense.
Thank you very much for that. So what are the essentials, like the must-have for social empowerment of women?
Information. Women must have information, right? As you know, as they say, information is power. Women must have information. What am I allowed? What are my rights? What are my responsibilities? Where can I get help? Where can I make a report? Where can I make a complaint? What is the guarantee that the complaints I make or the things I speak up about will be taken with the seriousness and the sanctity that they deserve? So there's information. Where am I supposed to go to school? You know, which places are safe? I've been thinking about a project with a few friends of mine on a safety ranking for women in Nigeria. Right, we've seen incidents where women go into hotels and then for some reason the hotel management give out their room numbers or give out their room keys. I had to work on a case sometime last year where, you know, a key to a woman's room had been given to a celebrity by the hotel. Right, so information. Where am I safe in this country? Where do I have opportunities? Based on my religion, based on my education level, based on so many things. Where am I safe? Where are my opportunities? Where can I thrive? Right? So there's information. There's also authority. Right? And we have to think really critically about the way women are seen in Nigeria. And this is why when people talk about the Gender and Equal Opportunity Bill, I say that there needs to be work done before that bill is passed. Otherwise, we will have the case of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, where you get the bill passed and it seems like a victory, but we then have to start doing advocacy across the entire country for implementation because people don't believe. Right? There are states in Nigeria where, and I won't mention the state because I don't want to start a war, but there's states in Nigeria where part of the things some men do to chill is they have a wrestling match, and after the wrestling match is done, they cast lots, you know, so like literally tumbom, which girl do we rape? And then they pick a girl and then they rape her as a collective. This is happening in Nigeria. I was in this state sometime last year and I heard that story, and it wasn't happening in the 80s or the 70s, no, as recently as 2020. And except, you know, I mean, what saved the day was civil society organizations were going around talking about sex being, you know, hinged or, you know, having the foundation as consent. And so someone asked, well, what about this thing? I didn't want it. I didn't ask for it. And that's how that all blew up in that state. So there's authority, right? Women knowing what their rights are, knowing what their responsibilities are, but also being in a place where they can enforce them. Marrying off a 17-year-old girl is not giving that 17-year-old authority.
I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you short.
Yeah.
You know, yes, we are still going to continue with this list, but you were saying something about information. How do we access this information? How do men get this information?
I guess in this, and we have to come back to the society, right? Because, I mean, when you go out on the street, the way a policeman treats you, the way a military man treats you, the way somebody treats you as you're driving. For instance, I'm driving my car, somebody drives rough around me, and then they just call me something nasty because I'm a woman. I can't have bought my car myself. Someone scratched my car I think 2 years ago, and I came out of the car and the person said, call your husband, you know, go and call me somebody I can talk to. And I'm like,
someone that paid for the car.
Exactly. And I'm looking at him and I'm smiling and I'm like, you're not even ready. Because I'm thinking about, in that moment, I remembered how much I had to save to buy that car. You know, I remember when I did the draft to pay for it, I remember how my heart felt. I'm like, oh my God, this money is leaving my account. So for somebody, you don't know me, you actually hit my car, going by the highway code, which I carry in my car, by the way, you're wrong. But the first, you don't even, there's so much condescension, you don't feel you can have a conversation with me. And so you're asking me, where is the person who bought the car? So when you talk about information, we have to go back to the very fabric of it, which is how are women seen in the society? I know young women who tried to run for office in 2019 and they were told, so you want to come and lead us. One of them actually had to say, no, I'm coming here to run errands for the community. And she still didn't win because they then told her father that your child is becoming pompous. She should go and get married. So when we think about information, it is what information is available to women. What information is available to girls? Are we telling girls that they can be techies? Are we telling girls that they can aspire, they can be anything? When we had a female pilot, fly one of our Air Force fighters sometime, I think 2 years ago, it was like brand new information. It was news because we hadn't seen that. Those are the types of information, buckets that we need to change. Young girls need to be able to see, you know what, I can be, a fighter pilot. I can be in the military. I interviewed a woman in the military and she said, there's a lot of information that women don't have. These are the information buckets we're talking about. How are people, and I asked her during that interview, how is the military proactively reaching out to women? Because you say, oh, some people are not coming to apply. So there's that gap. How are you reaching out to them? So I think for me, information is super, super important. And then we have authority. So now that they have this information, what do they do? Especially when you start working from a place of deficiency. Right? So when a woman tries to assert her authority, she's seen as a dissident, she's seen as rebellious, she's seen as somebody who will not get married, she's seen as a feminist, and it's a bit of a shame that we've kind of attributed the word feminism to evil. So it's almost like a bad word or a dirty word. When she asks for equality, she's seen as being pig-headed. It's almost as if she wasn't raised properly. So again, we can spend all day jumping back and forth between authority and information, because authority will lead to authority, authority will lead to information, information will lead into authority, and just keeps going back and forth like that. And when you've kind of crossed that, then you go into agency. Which is where a woman feels confident, and that confidence is a big part of women's empowerment, of social empowerment. It's the confidence, I'm going to take this decision. I am going to not get married till I get to this certain age, or I am going to quit this job because it affects my mental health, or I'm going to demand the government approved time for me to have a maternity leave because I need to take care of my baby. Or I'm going to ask my office, we need to have paternity leave as well because we need the fathers to bond with their children. You have to have mixed authority and information to come to a place of agency where a woman feels empowered enough to then bring about the social change and the institutionalized change that you're talking about.
Okay, so will I say that some information are being deliberately taken away from the woman so that she doesn't understand her rights and things she has to do?
Definitely. If you look at, for instance, we've seen cases where, let's say in the cases of domestic violence, and then a woman is told things like, yes, but I was beaten. Let's say her mom or her aunties tell her, that's how it is, I was beaten. And so you grow an entire generation of women believing that. Some women will even tell you if he doesn't beat you, he doesn't love you. Right? Because they've been socialized to believe that violence is a part of marriage. Right? But I'm very grateful to see a new generation of women who are saying, no, how do you beat me with the same hands and then make love to me with the same hands? It doesn't make any sense. Right? And again, there's a lot of information going around the VAP. Right? I know how many times I get messages from people saying, look, I got a message from someone who's actually my namesake. We were friends in secondary school, and she said, my husband is going to kill me. What do I do? And so I spent the entire day first trying to get her out of the place, then hooking her up to organizations who could help her, then ensuring that I had a direct line to one of them so I could check in on her and be sure, but for me, even the information, and so sometimes when we start to feel bad that we're not really making any headway as far as, sexual and gender-based violence is concerned, I rejoice a little bit because the fact that people are even speaking up about it in the first place, the fact that people feel like this is wrong, right? I remember speaking to a civil society organization, and they said a man had raped 12 boys because they were going to him for whatever it is they were going to him for. And the reason why one of them actually spoke up was because his mother had said to him, basically, what's in your pants belongs only to you. Don't let anybody touch you, And so when this man came and, violated him, he ran home and he told his mom, this person did this to me. And she was able to take him to the Nana Khadija Center. And that's when they found out that, other parents started speaking up, my son said this, my son said that. And found out that by the time that boy spoke up, there were 12 other boys that had been assaulted, 12 other boys who had been raped, and there might have been more, but it was only these 12 that spoke up. And of course, the man was arrested, blah, blah, blah. But imagine if that woman hadn't spoken to her son. You see the way information leads into authority, leads into agency, and then leads to the changing of things that affect us socially.
Thank you very much. much. I'm actually enjoying this discussion. I will
I
say. Our viewers, I hope you're also enjoying this discussion on social empowerment of women. We'll go on a short break now and then come back with our guests for this discussion. Please stay tuned.
Conversation with Ms. Chioma Agwuegbo, and it's been very interesting. I hope you're enjoying it as we are. But before we went on the break, you were giving us some things or factors that could actually prevent women from being socially empowered. Can you give us more? What factors that you think can affect women from being socially empowered?
Well, I mean, the society is like the bedrock of it, right? But then you then have to think about political factors, right? So there's political factors, and we've talked about the National Assembly, and I mean, there's only 4 deputy governors in Nigeria. We don't have any female governor. Of course, having a woman president is like a pipe dream, and it's just, you know, and we have these carefully created positions even within political parties called women leader. Yeah. You know, why don't we have men leader? You know, and I guess that for me is, you know, just a nice segue into why we're talking about women empowerment. But of course, there's a deficiency. But we need to go back to the very fabric of our societies to be able to fix those kinds of things. So there's political. There's also religious, and you know, it's always funny how people lean into the scriptures or into the bits of the Holy Quran that feed misogyny. You know, so for instance, they say, she called him Lord, you know, or they say she must submit. But you don't read the bit that just before that it says, you know, love your wife and give your life. You know, there's something about giving your life. So do you come to exactly? So have you come to the point where you feel like you can actually give your life when you start to demand submission? And there's also a place in the Bible that actually says, submit yourselves one to another. But we don't read those bits, right? We just, you know, we read the bits that talk about, you know, submit, you know, she called him Lord, etc. And it's almost as if we want to absolve ourselves of responsibility, you know. And then you have, you know, you have some Muslims saying, you know, but the people ahead of us have done this and done that, they have married children, etc. But there are also provisions within the Holy Quran that speak to specific circumstances that are not what we're doing today. You know, so again, it's just, there's religion that's used to bring women down. You know, there's also, you know, when a woman is deprived of an education, then she doesn't know what she's allowed. You know, she doesn't know what her rights are. She doesn't know what society is supposed to do for her. And I guess there's also financial. Right? And I think one of the strongest forms of non-violent abuse is financial. Where you have, and that's why I say to all of my friends, you know, my peers, as a matter of fact, all my peers, we all work, we all have our own money, right? But especially for younger women, do not listen to the stay home and let me provide. No, no. Because the easiest way for abuse to begin is for someone to just put a tap or, you know, put a lock on the resources that have been flowing to you because you have become rebellious or a dissident, all those types of things. So financial abuse is a really big thing, and that's why when you think about social empowerment, there's got to be a financial aspect to it. Because what does it profit a woman to have all of this knowledge and nothing in her pocket? And I think that's why for us at TechHer, one of my really big things is all of these programs that we hold, all of these events that we hold, how do they contribute to adding an extra naira to a woman's pocket? Because we can't say that we have truly empowered a person if you haven't helped them diversify their sources of income, if you've not opened them up to new markets, if you haven't kind of just strengthened, maybe it's even their financial processes so that they lose less money. You know,
But so do you think culture is also part of
Oh, definitely. Our culture is like the king of it now. That's why we started with our society. You know? I mean, culture is a way of life of the people. And which is why I keep going back to how does Nigeria see its women, right? I remember in 2019, I was part of a protest, actually worked on a protest around women being snatched off the streets by Abuja Environmental Protection Bureau. And we protested to FCDA, and one of the aides to the minister said to us that what AEPB was doing was they were cleaning the streets. And so we started yelling, are women trash? Because you're saying that your people are cleaning the streets, but these girls, when they're snatched off the streets, they're beaten, they're pepper sprayed, they are raped, they are extorted, they are not availed. I remember one of them saying that they told her that if she didn't plead guilty, they would put her in jail for 6 years. There is no law in Nigeria that allows you snatch someone off the street for loitering and put them in jail for 6 years. And besides, how dare you make someone plead guilty to you? Just a policeman tells you plead guilty. It's wrong. But again, that information is lacking, because if she knew her rights, she would have said no. First of all, bail in Nigeria is free. I need to speak with a lawyer. You cannot, you can't, you're not a judge. I cannot plead guilty. We're not in court. You can't set up an ad hoc or makeshift thing inside, I think it was Old Parade Ground. And one of the things I said to the AAPB guys was, if your work is actually, cleaning up the environment, Old Parade Ground is filthy. How did you guys, what gumption did you have to set up a makeshift court in the midst of such filth? And then you're trying women you snatched from, restaurants, from supermarkets, from people standing on the streets. And then you say, yes, but they're sex workers. Sex work involves solicitation and someone's soliciting. So why are you just snatching women? Who was soliciting? And these are some of the things that these women didn't know. Because if you know your rights, or if you say I'm a prostitute, did you catch me in the act? Because that's the crime. Not the being, it's the action. So, we come back to culture and just the ways that women should be seen, the ways we should be heard, the ways we should conduct ourselves, the types of monies that we should have. You're supposed to be okay, but you're not supposed to be rich. Otherwise, there's a man funding your lifestyle.
Don't be ambitious. Just
don't be ambitious. I remember even having a conversation with my father a long time ago. My father is now a feminist.
Nice.
But I remember having a conversation with him once, and he was like, "Oh, you can't live by yourself. It's going to look somehow." And I'm like, but when I was not living in Nigeria, I lived by myself. He said, yes, but it's different. Nigerians, the way they will see you. And I'm like, how will they see me? How is that a problem? The way I'll be seen and stuff like that. But yeah, we've moved past that. And so it's really important, culture, but even drilling down into the families. What are women told? Go to the kitchen while the boy is sitting out and playing, or you tell the girl, close your legs, or you tell the girl, don't have sex before you're married, but you're giving your boy condoms. Who is he going to have sex with?
Exactly.
So it's these little things, that we need to work on from the family. And these are some of the things that hold women back as far as social empowerment is concerned.
Yes. So I'm going to ask again. You said we need information.
We do.
For social empowerment.
We do.
What other ways can we promote social empowerment of women?
It's across a number of sectors, right? And these sectors generally have to do with the entirety of a woman's life. So we've talked about, education. We've talked about institutional, So for instance, affirmative action in Nigeria hasn't necessarily worked, right? Because it's supposed to ensure at least 30% representation. But if we still have, I think it's about 6.7 of both appointive and elective positions, being women, then we're very far from affirmative action. So we need institutional work to be done to promote women. And just to mention that I'm not a fan of the 111 seats currently touted for the National Assembly. I think that it's a waste of time. I think it's an additional drag on already dwindling resources that the country has. But I also think it's a quick fix and doesn't solve the problem of how women are seen. So instead of you to create level playing fields for women to aspire for office, or women with capacity, character, and women who are ready to do this work, you just say, let's give you your own. What we're going to have is going to be like a junior National Assembly, where, oh no, that's the women, and it'll almost, as it were, delegitimize even their being in the National Assembly. So I think it's a quick fix. I think that it's lazy, and this is with due respect to everyone who's been working on that bill, but I think it's a lazy solution to a deeper problem. We should first, question the political parties. We should question INEC. You have a duty to ensure that, you know, the parties are treating women and people with disabilities fairly. Are you producing that data? Are you putting out that data? You know, and I think that's a much stronger commitment to equality in Nigeria and to equity than just creating 100. Who's going to pay for them? And then one of the arguments I've heard for it is, after 16 years, it's going to revert. Do we really think that in this Nigeria, after 16 years, someone is going to say, okay, let's shrink the National Assembly? Isn't it this National Assembly that we've been talking about shrinking the monies that go in there for how many years? I know that Enough is Enough Nigeria started a campaign for like 7-8 years before we actually found out how much was going into the National Assembly. Is it this same National Assembly we're saying take 111 seats and after 16 years we'll shrink them again? It's not possible, because then we would have created a new crop of legislators who will say, I don't want to lose my seat. So why don't we work on the root cause? So institutional change, right? As far as leadership is concerned, we have some states in Nigeria where the commissioners for women affairs are not even women.
Yes, you're right.
You know, so what are we talking about? So we have institutional, we also have religious. There are some religions that say women can't lead. All the religions. We need to work on that, right? There's a lot of work that needs to be done there.
Enough, even in schools.
Even in schools, I chatted to a 10-year-old girl.
The president is a guy.
Yeah, I chatted to a 10-year-old
who
was saying that she was running for head girl, for head prefect of the school, or senior prefect of the school. And then when they found out she was getting more votes, or she was the only person, she was kind of like the strongest candidate, then they said they should redo the election because there is no boy.
Can you imagine?
Why?
You know, and it was a summer thing. I was teaching, you know, I was teaching actually a civil society organization, but they had, you know, young children. And so she asked, you know, can I ask a question? I'm like, definitely, I want to hear children. And then she said that and said she felt very sad. And so I was then talking to them about, this is how we tell girls they can't lead.
Exactly.
And so she was going to be assistant senior prefect, but her mother said, no, if you're not going to let her be senior prefect that she's deserved, we don't want it at all. And so she's not any prefect, right? And so, but she said it made her feel very sad, that she felt like maybe she's not supposed to be a leader. And I felt sad myself, because this is how we tell girls they can't be at the top. They have to be under someone. She's 10, and you're already telling her, you know, she can't be senior prefect. Exactly, because there wasn't any boy who'd risen to the occasion. I know a young lady who'd run for primaries in her state, not going to mention the state. She'd run for primaries, she'd won, violence broke out, and so they said, oh, they're going to cancel the results. And so the state chairman of the party, not going to mention the party, invited all of them to his house. There were 5 candidates, and he told them to, you know, vote within themselves, so the person who's going to represent the party in the state. And they all voted, and she won. And then the chairman was like, no. They will say we are women rapper in this state. Because they already had someone going for Senate who was also a woman. And so even though this friend of mine, with a health condition I'm not going to mention because it narrows her down, even though this friend of mine won 2 primaries, 2, in a state as difficult as hers, for House of Reps, she was disqualified because men didn't want to be seen as women rapper. And this was 2019.
Wow.
So there's a lot of work, And for me, the big work is in mindsets. Everything else will follow once we've changed the mindsets that women can and women should.
Thank you very much, Chioma. Thank you for the lecture. Thank you for the conversation and interesting discussion. Chioma, I don't know if you have other things to clarify.
I think she has answered the whole question, even went through everything. It's been a very interesting conversation we've been having. I like the point she made and talked about women no agreed. So don't let your financial tap stop running because you want to
control your own tap.
Control your own tap.
Be your own tap.
Be your own boss. So don't. Thank you, ma'am. That's everything for today.
Thank you very much, Chioma. Yes, I'm going to say one thing. We need information.
Information is key.
Information is key. We must be informed and the right information.
Yes.
Misinformed.
Maybe to take to another level, maybe this information can be in. Can we do like in different languages to go to the grassroots so that people get to really understand what this is really about? Because
But even people who are not at grassroots level have issues. I mean, if you look
Yes.
at some of the conversations on social media, I was just talking to someone on Twitter the other day who was talking about, the funeral that happened in Oba, and everybody was going there, and he was saying, oh, all of you girls that are going there, he doesn't want to hear justice for this person or justice for that person. And so I said, the fact that you think it's okay to make a mockery of women seeking justice for sexual and gender-based violence is really, really sad. And the ease with which this is the only joke you can make. There's nothing else, Why aren't we talking about men, going to Oba and then having issues with sexual and gender-based violence? The fact that it's actually only women who have this fear is a problem. But you making jokes about it is terrible.
I think that they shouldn't move around so that you don't hear justice.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, our viewers, for this, for taking our time to be with us on social empowerment of women. Remember, in our comment section, always put topics you would want us to discuss. See you again next week, Friday at 11 a.m. for another interesting conversation. But for now, bye.